Hello there and welcome to another episode of Quick History. We're in the middle of a series of videos looking at the problems with the Weimar government between 1918 and 1923. In a previous video we were looking at the stab in the back myth and the Treaty of Versailles. Today we're going to be looking at the invasion of the Ruhr and the subsequent hyperinflation which came as a result of that event. As always, there is a free handout in the description below. Make sure you click on subscribe if you like what you see. Let's get into the details. The aim of this video is twofold. First of all, why did France and Belgium invade the Ruhr? And two, what were the outcomes of the invasion on Germany in both the short term and in the long term? The reason why, if we're looking at question one, the reason why France and Belgium invade the Ruhr is because Germany are unable to make their reparations payments. Germany, after the Treaty of Versailles, are given a reparations bill, as we looked at in the previous video, of 6,600 million. And they managed to make two payments to France and Belgium using a mixture of gold reserves, wood, iron and coal. However, as 1922 came around and the third instalment was due, Germany informed the French and Belgians that they couldn't pay. France and Belgium responded to this in 1923 in January by sending 60,000 troops into the Ruhr. If Germany weren't going to give them the money from the reparations bill, then France and Belgium were going to go into the Ruhr, which was a huge industrial area in Germany, and take raw materials such as iron, such as wood, such as coal, to the value of the money that they were owed. That is why the invasion of the Ruhr takes place. The consequence of this invasion of the Ruhr led to something called hyperinflation, and hyperinflation was devastating for the Weimar government and for the people of Germany during this period. The reason why hyperinflation took place is because as the French and Belgians decided to go into the Ruhr to take the materials that they believed they were owed, the German workers who worked in the Ruhr were ordered to go on strike. They were ordered to stop working. The French and Belgians couldn't take anything if the German workers didn't dig it out of the ground in the case of coal, or didn't make it in the case of iron and steel. So they went on strike, they refused to work. However, because these German workers were doing what the government had told them to do, they demanded to be paid. And Germany decides, yes, we are going to pay the workers, but they don't have any money. The reason why they can't pay France and Belgium is because they don't have any money. They also can't sell products from the Ruhr to make money because the German workers have gone on strike. So how do they pay them? Well, they pay them by making the fatal decision of printing money. Now, the issue of printing money is this leads to inflation. The German government are in a no-win situation. They're in an absolute no-win situation. They've got to pay their workers. They don't have any money. They've got to go to the printing presses, print the marks, pay the wages. But by doing this, a very complicated economic phenomenon takes place. The more money you print, the less the money is worth. So as prices go up, the value of money goes down. As money is printed by the German government, the value of that money becomes worth less. As a result of this, prices in Germany end up spiraling out of control. We are in a situation where hyperinflation means the cost of a pint of milk, or the price of an egg, which used to be in 1 Deutschmark, 2 Deutschmarks, now runs into the billions of Deutschmarks. People had to be paid in wheelbarrows, and we have a possible apocryphal story which says that a man who'd been paid his wages took them home in a basket. He left the basket outside a shop to go in and collect some goods. When he came out, the money was still there, but the basket had gone, because the money was worth nothing, whereas the basket had some value. Now, the impact of hyperinflation was quite dramatic. In 1923, German money was completely worthless. Money was used to make bricks for children to play with, Money was used to light fires with, because money was worth less than the matches which they had to use to light fires with. And we end up in a situation, and I've got some specific examples for you to use here. The price of an egg in Germany rose from 7 marks in 1922 to the price of 4 million marks in September of that year. By November 1923, the price had risen to 320 billion marks for one egg. So what had cost you 7 marks in the early part of 1923 now cost you 320 billion marks. A loaf of bread went from 163 marks to 201 trillion marks. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 zeros on the end of that figure. 201 9 zeros marks. Numbers I can't even describe, which shows the absolute seriousness of this situation. Farmers end up in a situation where they don't want to sell the produce that they've made because the money that they would return for it is not worth anything. People who had savings, people who had saved up for an entire lifetime, who'd maybe have 20,000 marks in a bank account, which would have bought a house and a car and would have furnished their retirement for the rest of their life, now found themselves in a situation where that 20,000 marks couldn't even buy them an egg. And that was their life savings. We find ourselves in a situation where the elderly, who didn't have a job, who were on a fixed pension and a fixed income, couldn't afford basic things to live. So the people of Germany were tremendously inconvenienced by hyperinflation, and this led to some severe bitterness which people like Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party were able to take advantage of. One of the things that you have to be conscious of, though, when we're talking about hyperinflation, is that there were some positives. For example, people who'd taken out loans for their businesses to allow their businesses to grow, or people who had managed to get themselves into debt, soon found that their debt, which might take years to clear, or their loan, which might take years to pay back, could now be paid off by a day's wages. So even though there were some significant issues with hyperinflation for the elderly, for farmers, for workers, there were some advantages, but those were very few and far between. As always, there is a link in the description with a free handout on the evasion of the Ruhr and hyperinflation. Make sure you click on subscribe if you like what you see. I'll see you in the next video, which looks at political violence between the Spartacists and the Cat Putsch. I'll see you then.